So what went wrong with this 49ers offense? The 49ers offense did not have a great day. They only scored 10 points against the Broncos. I guess I should say they didn't have a great night against the Broncos with just 10 points scored. They also had a safety, so, really only a net positive of 8 points, which is not ideal. So what happened and what went wrong? Well, let's get into it, and let's start off with this play. So this is going to be kind of, an interesting example of a couple of things that we would see throughout this game, where it's the two deeper routes that the 49ers are really going to look towards. Watch how when Garoppolo takes the snap and runs a play action, he looks further down the field, and those two deeper routes are very much not open. Garoppolo throwing it there would just be a mistake. That's, I think, pretty clear to say. Now, he can go through his progressions. He has a check down route that can potentially pick up some yards, and to me, this is one of those no-brainer decisions that you should just, know that you do. Now, listen, very easy for me to say this when I'm sitting up here. I can pause the tape and I can watch right away. Okay, this is clearly what you should do. Doing it in real time is incredibly difficult, but these are also the best in the world at that kind of stuff, which is why they sometimes make it look a lot easier than it actually is. But Garoppolo's going to throw this ball deep anyways, and it nearly gets intercepted. And that's kind of, a lot of, several things that we can talk about the 49ers in general on this specific play. First off, the one thing that is definitely true, they were not getting receivers open down the field in this game. They just weren't. Secondly, there is the debate of when, Trey Lance was in there of should they put in Garoppolo, who maybe isn't perfect, but can at least be a solid game manager. Well, he's not always the perfect game manager. He is someone who will make mistakes as well and won't do what the offense was designed to do on that play. So that's just another factor at play. All those things combined made for a dangerous incompletion. And that wasn't the only one. This one was another one that really could have gone very poorly. Garoppolo was on the verge of having actually a disastrous day in this game. I think about the near pick six, which kind of was a pick six, but he had stepped out of bounds on the, on the safety, which allowed it to not be a pick six. So it's almost fortunate there that he took a safety accidentally. But this one is going to be man coverage. You have a player running over the middle. So, okay, good route against this type of concept, sure, but you have to keep in mind there's two safeties deep, but if one of them crashes in, which is what's happening here, called a cover one robber, this now means that a safety is going to get in the way of this route. But when this play begins, if you look at Garoppolo, his eyes never even look towards a safety. He's not even paying attention to that. He does not see that there's a safety crashing in that can potentially jump this route. And this is, again, it's a dangerous situation. Garoppolo does make this throw and it gets tipped at the line. And again, I don't know. Denver certainly thought that they would have had a pick had that, ball gotten through. I don't know if it would have or wouldn't have. Maybe he would have had enough muscle to get it through, but it would have certainly been dangerous. So I'm not doing this to say Garoppolo is a trash quarterback. I think we know who Garoppolo is, but I think it's fair to say part of what went wrong in this game is I think Garoppolo had a bad day that actually could have ended up a lot worse. But going over here now, it would not be fair to say that it was all on Garoppolo. I think that both things can be true. Garoppolo had a tough day, but also there were more issues at play and more things that went wrong, and this play is a great example of it. It's man coverage that the Denver Broncos are going to be in, and watch what happens. Garoppolo takes a snap. Garoppolo is going to look towards his right, and one thing you notice is there is pressure coming very quickly into this play. One of the things I always talk about is sort of the 2.5 second rule, right? In 2.5 seconds, that's when typically the play breaks down, and if the offensive line gives pressure after 2.5 seconds, I don't put it on the offensive line because that's just hard to block for that long. But under 2.5 seconds, that's when you hope that your offensive line will give you. You hope your offensive line will give you that. Well, we're at 2.33 seconds right here, so a little bit under that, but we still have pressure. So this is a quick pressure, and this is on the offensive line. On top of that, you look down the field, it doesn't appear as though anything's going to get open. So I don't think Garoppolo can make an anticipatory throw and throw it right here. He tries to get outside the pocket and ends up getting tackled. Maybe Trey Lance can get outside the pocket. I don't know. But the reality is the rest of his team was letting him down on that one. There was quick pressure and nobody getting open. No quarterback is going to look good in that situation. It's just which quarterbacks are going to look less bad in that situation. Something like this too, which is kind of a weird play. That's something that I definitely noticed about the 49ers is they looked a little off, and maybe that was just simply Garoppolo hasn't had as many first team reps as some of these other quarterbacks have, so it's just taking him a little bit to get used to this stuff. But it's going to be man coverage. You have a receiver, it's Brandon Ayuk running over the middle right here, and watch what happens. So Garoppolo takes the snap. Garoppolo eventually looks in Ayuk's direction, and actually did a good job this time of not looking directly in that direction. So the safety, who I've circled in black, is not jumping the route the way the one earlier on was, because Garoppolo did not stare down his target. So good job there. Maybe he learned a lesson, saw something on a Surface Pro or something, and realized, okay, yeah, got to make sure I, don't make that mistake again. But as you see, Garoppolo throws it a bit behind, probably intentionally to avoid the safety, and Ayuk just wasn't able to make the grab. Like, that's just, again, it's just a bit off. It was kind of fine to throw that one a bit behind. It's one Ayuk usually catches and didn't on this one, it feels like. So little stuff like that definitely played a role, and that's stuff you just expect will get better as the season goes on, and stuff you don't worry about if you're a San Francisco fan. At least I wouldn't if I was a San Francisco fan. Although finally, one last play, and this is something this was a weird play. I have a theory on what happened here. Weird play. Watch what happens. Garoppolo takes the snap. Garoppolo's going to look towards his right, deep down the field, and sees a wide open San Francisco receiver who can walk in for a touchdown if Garoppolo hits him. At least you're picking up a good chunk play. Maybe the deep safety is able to get over and make a tackle, but it's a dangerous situation for Denver. I mean, this is just a straight up blown coverage, and Garoppolo is looking down the field. This should be a great scenario. I just don't understand this. Jimmy G instead looks over and throws it to a completely covered receiver instead. I don't know what Jimmy G was doing there. I cannot understand what happened. I have a theory, and my only theory is that Garoppolo was always going to throw it to Ayuk on the other side of the ball, and he just looked up to kind of get a safety or get someone else out of position, trying to not stare down his receiver, right? But you can still actually look at someone else to not stare down a receiver. That's an option on the table. Something you wish that Garoppolo would have noticed. I think that he just probably was looking off, but he was always going to throw it to Ayuk and just didn't notice it, even though he was looking directly at it. So, there's two ways to look at this. There's the one way of saying, oh, Garoppolo, man, once you watch the All-22 footage, he actually had a much worse day than it looked. And I think that's fair. But I also think it's fair to say, well, there was stuff that was available that he was not able to capitalize on as well. So both were true. And the fact that this stuff was available means that in future games, he probably will notice this and will be able to make those throws, and you will be able to get those big plays. So that's the optimism, and that's the way you talk yourself into it if you're a San Francisco fan. So what went wrong for the 49ers? Well, firstly, I think it's fair to say they played the Denver Broncos defense, which is a good defense. I think that's a part of it. I think another part of it is you would like to see the receivers get a little bit more open. I think that's fair. And also, I think you would have liked to see Garoppolo just have a better game. I know Garoppolo is a highly criticized quarterback at times. He's not a superstar by any means, but he is an okay quarterback as well, who had a rough day, here in action. And maybe he just would play a little bit better once he gets more first-team reps. I think that's reasonable to think is a legitimate possibility. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.